Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Alex Wolf here, joined by a special guest host today. I have Zach DeLuzio, who you might know from Twitter at ZJ DeLuzio and from the Strickland, where we're actually on the Knicks Mail.Bag podcast together. And we are breaking down the Knicks 138-134 double overtime victory over the Boston Celtics on national television in the first game of the season. Julius Randle, 35 points, Evan Fournier, 32, and as many clutch threes as he needed to completely pay for his contract in one game. So much great stuff to talk about, and we are going to get into it in just a second on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, boom. Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Again, I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. Also, going to be writing for the Knicks for Clutch Points this year. You can probably check those articles out right after this if you want to go ahead and do that. And I'm joined by Zach DeLuzio of the Strickland, also on Twitter at ZJ DeLuzio, where he does some great analysis during the games and co-hosts the Knicks Mail.Bag podcast with me. Zach, before I get into our title sponsor, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me for this game, Alex, because this is a good one.
This is a hell of a one to start with, right? You're very welcome. You can pay me for this privilege. I tell you what. And I just wanted to remind everybody, this episode of Locked On Knicks is brought to you McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Zach, I've already told the fine people my go-to menu item at McDonald's is a sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin. What is your go-to McDonald's item?
Going for breakfast, I see. Honestly, got to keep it a classic Big Mac. The sauce it's always hits a spot. That's it.
I always find Big Macs to have a little too much bread. I'm more of a quarter pounder guy myself, but I respect the choice. Classic. Yeah. You're a classic type of guy.
That's right.
That makes sense. So anyway, enough about sandwiches, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or otherwise. We're going to talk about the Knicks and the Celtics. The Knicks beat the Celtics 138-134, double overtime, because they have no respect for our mental or physical health. They decided to go 2 overtimes on game one. Julius Randle, as you could probably, if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, I should say, you can see our cool little status bar at the bottom. So check out YouTube if you haven't already. But 35 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks in this first game. 12 of 27 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, 8 of 8 clutch free throws in this game. Evan Fournier, 32 points on 6 of 13 from 3, 13 of 25 overall. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. Stuffed the stat sheet. RJ Barrett, 19 points, 6 of 11 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. All those 19 points came in the second half for RJ Barrett. Heck of an effort for him in the second half. Zach, there's so much to talk about. Obviously, I just listed off all the players, but in terms of this grand scheme game, where should we start as far as what the hell just happened?
Alex, I was struggling with the same thing myself. There are periods of time in like 5-minute chunks where we would get a commercial break and I would think back to what just happened and would have no idea how to summarize it at all. So I really don't know where to begin. Is the best starting point Fournier for both good and bad reasons?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so the game wouldn't have even hit 1 overtime if not for... First off, the baffling decision, well, all right, it's on brand for Tibbs, but kind of baffling decision to not foul when you're up 3 points with just a few seconds left on the clock at the end of regulation. Yeah, you should just foul there. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like another sport analogy, like where that sort of annoying crap happens or doesn't happen sometimes. It's almost like icing the kicker or something. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's kind of commonly accepted that you want to generally just foul there and make them hit the 2 free throws. And then also, make free throws again, but burn some more seconds off the clock. I mean, it's just kind of conventional wisdom at that point. They don't do that. Fournier inexplicably doubles, and then the ball finds its way to Marcus Smart on the other end of the court, who drains a three to send things to overtime. Not great. Not the best moment ever. But then in both overtimes, more specifically the first one, Evan Fournier, I lost count. Did he hit 3 or 4 between?
He hit 3 in a row.
Yeah, he hit 3 threes in a row.
Yeah,
to start the first overtime, which was just insane. And on top of that, like, I mean, we got to shout out Jaylen Brown real quick, who had literally the game of his life, set a new career high, 46 points, 16 of 30 shooting, 8 of 14 from 3. And I mean, Jaylen Brown was going insane this whole game. And
that big was at the end of regulation, right? Where he hit it from the logo with that. I mean, I was like, just let him shoot that. Please let him shoot that. I'm happy he's taking that shot.
It was. He hit it was like a 40-footer. I mean, it was insane. And I think at that point, they like someone on the call, I don't know, I forget if it was probably Mark Jackson, that stupid dum-dum, was like, what are you doing? Leave it. It's like, what are you talking about? Why would you not leave him? I don't care how high he is. You let him shoot from 40 feet away if that's what he's going to choose to do. And he did. That was crazy stuff, man. I mean, this whole game was just like on drugs. It was.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. Like I guess we should start. Let's try starting more towards the beginning, right? Because we just went over the end a little bit. Obviously, at the end we have really clutch shot making from Fournier in the first overtime. Julius Randle just takes it into his own hands and wins the game late in this one. Gets a really key and one. He makes some clutch free throws down the stretch. I mean, he was fantastic. And quite frankly, at points in this game, it was just like he was unguardable, more or less. Like they were trying to guard him, but he was just too strong, too fast, too good at shooting, too everything for the Celtics in this game by and large. But let's start like more towards the beginning. So this game starts off and like the Knicks go on a little mini run to start. And then how did you feel about the defense? Like, I know that Tibbs was pretty pissed at some moments. I didn't think it was great that, they did opt to go for Jericho Sims going in there first to spell Mitch, because congrats to Taj, had a baby yesterday, apparently. Noel is still hurt. So the big man rotation still very shorthanded. Shout out to Mitchell Robinson, who I'm sure we'll get to in a minute, I thought was just amazing in this game. Especially considering if this is like 70% of Mitch, the league is completely screwed this year. But like, so they have Sims out there, and he's obviously had his issues defending the ball and everything. And I don't know, how did you feel about the defense? You're much better at watching the game from like an X's and O's perspective than I am. So what was your thought?
I didn't think it was as bad as the results seem to indicate, which is something that always happens in basketball. It's part of the fun of it, right? Where you're getting shelled, but really, if you're looking at it from a macro perspective, it's really not all that bad. The defense wasn't good. I thought there were a lot of miscommunications primarily, and things where guys just really weren't on the same page more than anything. Plus, the Celtics were shooting red hot. So we saw after, was it the end of the first quarter? Where they were really coming out once they started to cool down, especially Jaylen, because it was right out the gate where he was lighting it up. And obviously he had moments later, but he was seriously going off from the beginning with a ton of incredibly difficult shots. And some of these you just got to live with. And this is the thing, like you live with it with Jaylen, right? Meanwhile, Tatum's taking difficult shots and missing them. And this is what happens. You get one guy and you defend the other. And some of it is just variance. And I thought the Knicks did not a great job, but they were okay. And that really turned itself around as the game went on.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same thing. I mean, it was just like difficult shot making, and there's not too much you can do against that always. You can do your best, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are just really great scorers. I mean, I don't think I heard someone on the ESPN broadcast prior to the game say that those two were the two best players on the floor. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I think Julius Randle has something to say about that. But, you could argue they probably had two of the top three guys on the floor tonight. And, so those two guys have fantastic scoring prowess. And sometimes there's just not anything you can do about it. It is what it is. Like, you do what you can. And if the guys burn you a little bit, you kind of just do exactly what the Knicks did, which is continue playing your game and then eventually wait for that guy to cool off a little bit in the second half. Which is exactly what happened. And that was what allowed them to kind of go on their run there. and make their comeback that they did after being down. I think did they get down double digits in the first half?
Oh,
I
yeah,
forget.
yeah. It was like 12 or something like that.
Yeah, I thought so too. So I mean, you do what you can with that, and just let your game plan, sort itself out as the game goes on.
Exactly.
And I think they did a good job. But there was a really, really interesting wrinkle in this game, which was the Knicks going small again, and to great effect. And so I want to talk about that in our next segment here in a second. But first, I do want to remind everybody this episode of Locked On Knicks is brought to you McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect, a place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. Win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, the home team or the away team can come to recharge. And it's the place you always look forward to stopping at on a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel. I'll tell you what, that one resonates with me, that rest your legs and refuel. I took a trip up to Lake George over the summer, partied a little too hard on the last night. And I don't know why I did that. But then my friends and I were driving back the next day, and we were dead tired. And you know what really kind of picked us back up was, well, at least in my case, it was like a 10-piece McNugget, a McDouble, and a McDonald's Coke. That was the lifeblood I needed about 3 hours into that 6-hour drive home. So if you're ever in need, stop it. I don't remember what rest stop it was, but the one rest stop McDonald's that had a couple other things in it was pretty solid. Had some nice picnic tables outside. Go hit that up off of, I think it was 87. But anyway, head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. Did somebody say Locked On Knicks watch party at McDonald's? Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, this is the point where I get to choose if I'm going to sing the I'm Loving It jingle. Zach, do you want to try doing the ba-da-ba-ba-ba I'm Loving It real quick?
I don't, Alex. I actually want to see you do it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. All right.
That was okay.
Hey, Justin Timberlake, eat your heart out. All right. So moving to our next segment here, I want to talk about the going small thing. Now a trend officially, 2 games of going small. So we can call this a trend now. We have Obi Toppin out there late in the game with Julius Randle. And in the first half, they tried it for a minute and it didn't look great. And you were like, all right, fine. This kind of crashed down there. But thanks to the fact that you still have Mitchell Robinson, who this is only his second game that he's played in 6 months or more. And you have Jericho Sims as your only other true center option off the bench, and he's just not ready for this level yet. You end up then with this choice of, all right, well, do we go back to this Julius Randle and Obi Toppin arrangement? And the Knicks said, sure. You know what? Tibbs was like, all right, yeah, I've seen the potential of this, so let's go back to it. And so they did. And I mean, I loved it. They were running, and that was exactly what they needed to do. And Obi, I thought, did a credible enough job, along with Randle, who, I mean, Randle's no rim protector, but I mean, Randle ended, I think I cited it at the top of the show, with, what was it, 3 blocks at the end of this one? 3 blocks, yeah. I mean, he had 3 blocks in this game, and they were not cheap. I mean, he was doing his best to kind of patrol the inside. And so I think that maybe much like, we've been drawing comparisons to 12-13, this whole offseason, maybe much like 12-13, Tibbs has kind of stumbled into a good thing here. Yeah. And hopefully it's not something he throws by the wayside. I mean, what's your opinion so far on the
I was thinking the exact same thing earlier. Yeah. With Melo at the 4. That's a great comparison. Number one, I do want to give a lot of credit to Tibbs because he really did. You're right. He threw it. It didn't really work out the gate. He gave it another shot. In addition to that, quickly came out and wasn't looking good tonight. And he pulled him in the second half. And I love Quickly as much as next guy, but these are 2 great decisions. And specifically for the small ball, I'm not sure this is something that's going to work every night. But this is what good teams do. They have multiple looks that they can throw at an opponent. The Celtics don't really have a guy who can get to the rim, who can make you pay on the level of like, I don't know, think of Trae Young or any one of these point guards who are just getting in the paint, causing havoc constantly. You don't have a guy like that. Jalen was doing a decent job, but it was more so him hitting these ridiculous shots and getting to the rim. So you can really get away with it against them. And they weren't getting punished on the glass either. That's the other part of this where you would expect some kind of downside. So they were able to really take advantage completely with that small ball lineup. And I thought it was obvious how well this worked in transition. I mean, you immediately see Obi getting out there and just beating everyone down the floor because no four can keep up with him is the reality of it. And on the other side of the spectrum, even when Julius was posting up in those lineups, you could see it was pretty well spaced. Like, even though Obi was not hitting threes and hasn't historically been a great three-point shooter, he's getting respected. He's kind of getting that Marcus Smart thing where people like think that because he's so willing to shoot, he must be good at it, and therefore we have to guard him. So it creates this great dynamic on offense that I really liked.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually going to just mention, Obi's three-point shooting. He was 0-3, but it didn't feel that way. He was doing his job out there, which was to keep the floor spaced, and he does get the respect, rightly or wrongly. It is kind of weird. Like, that's a good comparison to say Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart, he's gotten better in the last year or so, or 2 years maybe. But I mean, he used to be like a 30% three-point shooter, but people would close on him like he was like Reggie Miller. It was just like, I don't understand. So yeah, I mean, if Obi can start generating that kind of effect, then awesome. Like, I would love if he was, more, if he was a dependable option out there to space the floor and keep things open, even if he's not hitting shots, because then, suddenly this small ball thing makes a ton of sense. And I think it's something that the Knicks can go back to consistently. I do worry, based off of the money that they just handed out to Noel and even to Taj to a degree, and also just how much Tibbs loved them last year and loved having one of those guys plus Mitch out, or, one of those three out there at any given time, that this is essentially just going to get thrown out the window the second that there's some semblance of health in the center rotation. But I mean, even if this is just something that the Knicks start practicing and practice a little more and just kind of keep in their back pocket for a rainy day, if it's not an everyday occurrence, but it's one of those things that you're at least versed in, so that they don't come out there and they're like looking like they don't know what they're doing, playing together in that situation, then this could be a really great weapon for the Knicks to have, just this little nuclear option to throw out there.
Exactly. Lineup versatility is such a huge thing, especially when the season gets later and hopefully into the playoffs, where this is a look that you can throw out there and it's worked. There's reason to believe it can work. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this again, but you would, there's a chance you're right where we don't, but we'll see. It's a good thing at minimum, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done some service to Julius Randle so far and to his effort, but I want to talk for a sec about Evan Fournier and just how much he brought to this game. I mean, I won't even say too much about it. I'll give his stats again, which again you can see on YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, I have we look official as hell. This looks like ESPN or something over here, but I've got Fournier's stats on the bottom on the YouTube channel. But if you're listening just in your earbuds or in your car stereo or whatever, Evan Fournier, 32 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, 13 of 25 shooting, 6 of 13 from 3. Zach, do you think there's a single person out there anymore who is still thinking, oh, they might miss Reggie Bullock this year, and Evan Fournier might not be that big of an upgrade, and the defense is going to be really big drop off? Do you think there are any people still tooting that horn at this point?
Yes, but they're not saying anything. They're dead quiet. They're going to come out next week when Fournier has an off shooting night and things go a little different. But man, it is hard to make that argument right now. What's Reggie Bullock's career high? 23 or something?
It has to be something like that. I mean, he had a couple. Did he set it last year?
Almost definitely.
He came close, at least that one of those times when he hit 7 threes or whatever.
Right.
I think he maybe had 25 a couple times last year. It's got to be somewhere in the 25.
But this is just different. This is a different level of shooting. It's a different kind of shooting. It's a different dynamic. He's got so much more juice off the dribble and so much variety to his game. And, the thing that I found most encouraging is you can see even within this game how him and Julius still don't really have that chemistry. And we saw the same thing with Reggie last year. You remember in the beginning of the season where they were sort of feeling each other out, and in these DHOs, they didn't have that instinct of when to cut and when to fade off each other. And you could see it was sort of disjointed. And as the season went on, around the midway point, Reggie took off and Julius's numbers took off because they sort of figured that out. You can see that same exact thing happening right now. And it's already working well, right? But it's going to get better is what I'm trying to say. I think there's plenty of room to grow here.
Yeah, it's really crazy that it feels like we haven't even come close to seeing what the best version of those two working together could be, because they've literally only played together a few games, because remember, Julius missed one preseason game too. So they missed out on a little bit of time to get to know each other in that way. And yeah, once they get all that timing down, I mean, they're going to be unstoppable. It's going to be it's going to be like the Julius and Reggie combo last year and how deadly that was, but on speed, because I mean, Fournier can just do so much more. And it was on display in this game. He was able to put it on the floor a number of times. And his first step and his burst off the dribble is just really, really good, from a standstill. And he had so many times where, I'm sure the Celtics know it plenty well because they played with him last year. But he would be standing on the perimeter and he wouldn't even really be doing that much. He would just have a one-on-one matchup and he would just throw a couple little head fakes, couple little, jabs here and there, not even a full jab step, just kind of a quick head fake, quick little jerk. And he was getting guys to almost leave their feet just with that, because they're so afraid of anything that he can do with the ball in his hands. They're afraid of him shooting it right there. They're afraid of him putting it on the floor and dribbling. They're afraid of him, pulling up in mid-range or something. They're afraid of a quick little crossover to drop them, when they think that he's going to go all the way to the hoop. So there's just so many options with him that weren't there with Bullock. And it was really on full display in this game. And clearly, as was evidenced by him literally carrying the Knicks through that first overtime on his back, you don't have to worry about any sort of shooting drop-off from 40% shooter Reggie Bullock last year, because I think that Fournier is going to have a real case for 40% himself this year. And the defense was great in this game. He made some really key plays. He had a key block of all things at one point in this game that started a great transition run for the Knicks. I think that was the one that ended in one of the RJ dunks. But just so much
under the basket.
Yeah, that was his one block. But then also 4 steals on top of it. He was all over the place in this game. And it was funny, after the game was over, Julius got the first post-game interview and he was like, "Man, I'm so tired. I can't wait to go back to my bed, blah, blah, blah." And meanwhile, Fournier was cool as a cucumber, just yeah, I'm good.
Oh my God. Dude, that I forget which 3. This is what I mean when it all blends together at a certain point. On one of the, I could not believe how chill he was. He was, it was practice, and it was one of the bigger shots in the game. It must have been at the end of the fourth or end of the first overtime, where it was a DHO with Randle. They went under for, I don't know how many times he has to hit can of 3 in your face before you go over on him, but they go under. And it wasn't even sometimes these guys hesitate for a second, oh, do I really want to take the shot? Do I really want this right now? He just pulled immediately. It was the first quarter. It was just practice, whatever. This guy was just canned it. Nothing. Yeah. It's incredible.
No reservations with him. My guess, Zach, might be that Evan Fournier might be using Calm in his life. What is Calm, you might ask? Calm is one of our sponsors of this episode. And, do you want to know what makes LeBron James, King James, and I can't confirm this, but maybe Evan Fournier, sleep. That's right. Sleep is his superpower. Calm, the #1 app for sleep and meditation, is teamed up with LeBron James to help you activate the power of sleep. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, but you don't have to be a world champion to learn how to train it. Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, reduce your stress, and perform at your best, just like King James. For LeBron, sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine. As he says, quote, "Getting good sleep and finding time to rest is one of the most valuable things I can do for my body and mind. From the sound of rain falling on leaves to bedtime sleep stories, Calm puts me to sleep within minutes, which means I could wake up ready for any challenge." So if you head to calm.com/LockedOnNBA for a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. With Calm, you can get access to the nature scenes LeBron loves, like rain or leaves, and so much more, like sleep stories and meditations, so you can be ready for any challenge that life throws your way. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm and get a 40% discount on a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/lockedonnba. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/lockedonnba. That's calm.com/lockedonnba. And the other thing, man, I'm rolling. The other thing that Evan Fournier was not doing in this game was sweating a damn thing. And that is because, well, okay, again, I can't confirm, but I can maybe speculate that he was using sweat block wipes. They've been one of my favorite things. I've told you all how sweaty of a person I am. Zach, you look like a man who's had a good sweat in his life.
It's true.
I've literally seen it in person, so I know it's the truth. And Sweat Block might be a great product for you too, just like it was for me. You dab it on your underarms before you go to sleep, and then wash off the excess in the morning, and voila, you are guaranteed to have a dry shirt for 7 days. That's Sweat Block's dry shirt guarantee. Don't just listen to me though. It seems like some friends of Locked On who have tried Sweat Block love it as well. For example, we have a story about a high school teacher. When he'd pit out by the fourth period, he'd hear the snickers and whispers from his students. So he started bringing a second shirt to change into between classes. I can certainly relate. I've brought second shirts places as well. Then he heard about Sweat Block on our program. He tried it, and now he's hooked. No more Snickers, no more second shirt. Fantastic. There you go. Locked On listeners love Sweat Block. I love Sweat Block. Zach will probably love Sweat Block if he tries it. Stop excessive sweat for up to 7 days per use. Sweat Block is doctor created and doctor recommended. And again, comes with that dry shirt guarantee. And it's not just meant for your armpits. You can use it on your chest, back, feet, hands, or, anywhere. Wink, wink. So you can use it wherever it is that you happen to be sweating. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON or at Amazon and CVS. All right, Zach, to continue on with talking about this game, let's see, home stretch time. How about RJ Barrett and the second half that he put together? I mean, I was blown away. I thought he had you already talked about it. I feel like I don't have to add too much. Quickly had a bad half. 8 minutes, he was bad. He was just, there's no other way to put it. It wasn't just that he was missing shots. He was just playing like crap. Right. And RJ in the first half, not quite to that level, but I mean, he was not playing great in the first half. Let's put it that way. And for one thing, he wasn't making shots. For two, they weren't doing a ton to involve him, which wasn't great either. Usually they do more to kind of get him going, and then that pays dividends later in the game. But they didn't really do that in the first half in this game. And he comes out of the first half scoreless. Some of the naysayers I saw on Twitter were already like, RJ sucked that half, blah, blah, blah. He's no good. Obviously, he comes out and he's a damn good player, and he proved it in the second half. And he's always a second half player regardless.
Yeah, how many times do we have to see this before people learn?
Exactly. So 19 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 7 from deep, 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. I mean, he had a fantastic game, I thought, particularly in that second half. He went on, it wasn't actually, but it felt like about a 12-0 solo run in the third quarter. A couple other people scored in between, but I mean, he had, I think it was 12 points total in the third quarter. You might even hit up to 15 or something, but just a phenomenal third quarter where he had a couple transition dunks. He hit some threes. I loved how he was positioning himself. I loved how his teammates suddenly started looking for him. That was great. Go figure. The guy that shot 40% from three last year, and outside of like a really bad stretch of like 10 games, shot like 45% from three last year. Maybe you want to get him the ball a little bit on the perimeter. And they did, and he made a ton of shots. So what did you think about RJ's outing? That first half, the second half, the whole experience?
Yeah, man, it was interesting because I can see it in the first half. I understand what people are going through in the sense that he wasn't getting the looks. This is a new offense, right? We just finished talking about Fournier, who's going to take more shots than Bullock. Kemba's here now. So between those two guys, he's got to find this place. It's a different dynamic than it was last year. And you could see that in the first half. He missed both his free throws, which is frustrating. That was his one opportunity. I remember specifically his only shots in the first half were that one heave, and he forced up 2 pull-up threes, which are not his shot. Like once in a while, I'm okay with him taking that, but you could tell it wasn't a shot he was looking for. And finally in that third quarter, things started to open up a little bit, largely thanks to Julius. and defense, which is how these things should go. You want to get your guys going with some easier looks. And that's exactly what happened. So, this is an ebb and flow. It's going to happen. RJ Barrett is not an all-star yet. So you can't come out here and expect him to drop 22 points a game yet. I mean, we'll see, TBD. But more importantly, Alex, I think is clearly the defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the defense was amazing. He had the possession that most made me clench up was at the end of regulation, or no? I think that was because end of regulation was the smart make. I think it was the end of overtime 1. The Celtics get the final possession with like 17 seconds. Jason Tatum brings it down solo.
Yeah.
It was never going to be anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And RJ takes him one-on-one. The Knicks had a foul to give, but I think that Tibbs probably gave the directive to RJ, like, use it if you want, but if you think you got him, just hold him, because we'd rather not give them another stoppage of play and an opportunity to run an inbounds play. So, if you think you got him, go for it. And clearly RJ thought he had him, and he did. Tatum made his move. He made his crossover, and I sat there like teeth clenched, like, oh God, here it comes. How many years ago was it that Tatum hit that game winner against the Knicks? Was that literally last year?
Was that RJ's rookie year?
Was that RJ's? That might have been RJ's rookie year. It might have been. Oh man, if that was over RJ, I got to look that up.
I think it was. I'm not 100% sure.
That would be some awesome poetic justice in this game, because then RJ, sticks with him, and I defended it beautifully. And Tatum was obviously having kind of an off night, but that possession completely belonged to RJ's defense. That was it was picture perfect. That was him doing exactly what he proclaimed he was going to do, which is become the new go-to one-on-one defender for this team. And he did it perfectly. Tatum ends up, I think he airballed it over the hoop, from the right baseline. It was just picture perfect defense. He made him adjust so much that he put way too much on the shot. And, ultimately that was, among many of them, a game-winning play for the Knicks in this, because in plenty of other scenarios, we've seen Jason Tatum make game-winning shots. So,
yeah,
he stopped that from happening.
And people are going to understandably point out that Tatum missed a lot of open shots, which is true. But one of the things that comes with playing this level of defense is that you don't let guys get in a rhythm. So when they get those open shots, it's not like it is when you're red hot. Basketball is a mental game just as much as it is a physical game. These guys are hitting these shots all day in practice. In an empty gym, any of these shots are a joke for them. The defender is the one who's tasked with making them uncomfortable, even if it looks like he got the shot off. And sometimes they do. RJ is not making it easy. He's tiring him out. And when those open shots do come, they're less likely to fall because of the work RJ puts in. And he did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. And so props to RJ. Also, he and Randle and Fournier all doing a good work as far as getting themselves into the conversation for minutes leaders this year. 47 minutes for RJ, 46 for Randle, 44 for Fournier. I want to talk real quick, too, about Mitchell Robinson. And I touched on him earlier, but I was just so impressed by him in this game. 11 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and 5 of 5 shooting. So speaking of guys that are well on their way, he's well on his way to maybe breaking his field goal percentage record again. But I can't believe, even compared to that first preseason, or the last preseason game, his first game, I cannot believe how good he looks right now with how allegedly out of shape he is. And it's not even alleged. You could see he's still huffing.
Yeah.
But he found the right gear late in this game. He found that sort of he found his wind halfway through. In the first half he was looking a little gassed sometimes, and even a little bit to start second half. But the momentum, the adrenaline of it all clearly took him over, and he came through and he had to. The other really important thing is in 34 minutes he had 2 fouls.
Wow.
2 fouls in 34 minutes.
Oh my God.
And that was mostly because the Celtics were terrified of him. They wanted nothing to do with being within 5 feet of him. And it's so apparent now that his rep has finally reached like, maybe it somehow hasn't reached its apex yet, but I mean, the league knows about him at this point, and they know do not go anywhere within 10 feet of Mitchell Robinson on the inside. And that really helped the Knicks at a lot of different points in this game, I think. Like it basically cut off the rim for the Celtics for large parts of it. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact of like, when you're waiting out for that hot shooting to die, eventually it does. And then all of a sudden they don't have the easy option at that point. They don't have the option of getting inside as long as Mitchell Robinson is there. And like, once he's got his win fully back and you can start consistently, hopefully counting on him for like 30 minutes a game, I think the Knicks are going to be so golden this year with the interior defense. I mean, it's crazy to say because he looked so good last year when he wasn't hurt, but I think he looks the best he's ever looked based off this one. It's extremely small sample, but the vertical ability needs to still make its comeback a little bit, his lob catching and that sort of thing. But his just like pure power that he plays with now and like the fear that he strikes into opponents has literally never been better. And he earned every one of those 17 rebounds. I mean, he's just like, he's huge now. He's basically the size of Joel Embiid at this point.
And I like how you put that too, because he does play with power, which is not what you would really think. We've watched him like grow up and fill out. He was this lanky guy who could jump really high and was super mobile. And maybe that mobility is being lost a little bit, but man, he is a handful. These guys cannot handle him. And I think that really bears itself out, like you said, on the glass, where it's happening a couple times per game at this point where a shot goes up and it's a brick and Mitch just grabs it and dunks it. I think he had 2 or 3. And these are huge, huge possessions. You're turning a missed shot into 2 points and dead ball. You get to set your defense. It's incredible. I think that's obviously huge. For as much as Nerlens does, he does not rebound, and he can't finish like that. So it creates a new dimension to the offense that you can't really account for. We saw a couple times where smaller guys would get switched onto him, and he would punish them in one way or another, whether that's on the glass or that time he backed down Smart, if I'm remembering correctly. Just a bunch of stuff like that. I think the cool thing about him on defense is that his timing is still a little bit off, where he's rotating a little bit late, or maybe it might not even be his timing so much as just him being in shape, like you said. Probably a little bit of both, honestly, but you can see that towards the end of the game, he had that nice block on Smart, where finally that instinct, which we've seen him have, this isn't a thing where you're saying, oh, maybe he could get there. He's been there already. He's just getting back in the rhythm because he hasn't played in such a long time. And you could see in a lot of times, he's rotating over on shots where he has no chance of blocking them, and it leaves the guy behind to grab the rebound. And it was getting cleaned up over the course of the game, where then his blocks are blocks or actual shot contests. And as the year goes on, he's going to settle in even more and then start to improve even more. So I can't wait to see what he does from here.
Yeah, you and me both, dude. And we're starting to run a little short on time at this point. So we haven't done a couple guys' service yet. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to play a quick game. I will say a name of a guy. You give me like one quick rapid fire hot take for these guys. Pretend this is an episode of the Strickland Mailbag, and we're in the rapid fire segment at the end. Okay, ready?
Okay.
So Obi Toppin, give me a quick take on him based off this game.
Dynamic. Love this guy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. Derrick Rose, tell me something about him.
Clutch.
Clutch as hell.
Yeah.
Made an awesome layup after having.
God. Thank you, Derrick.
Yes, like the game, basically the game winner at that point, or very close to it. Kemba Walker.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a little rough for him. It was a little rough. And I guess the last guy we literally haven't mentioned at all, Alec Burks.
Yeah, he didn't really do much, did he?
He just existed.
It's fine. He didn't do anything wrong.
He existed. All right, there we go.
He showed up.
Now we've covered all the players on the Knicks, so we've had the most comprehensive episode 1 of the new season that we possibly could have. Zach, why don't you tell everybody real quick where to find you online, and then we'll sign off on this fantastic first win for the Knicks.
You can find me at ZJ Deluzio, Diluzio, all one word. I'll hopefully be tweeting out some Twitter threads eventually. Now, a lot of people do them, so you could find this at a lot of different places, but hopefully you could stop by and see that from me. And otherwise, I'm at the Strickland with Alex.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So that's it for this first regular season episode of Locked On Knicks. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be back. I think we're going to take Friday off during the day and then be back for an episode on Saturday because we've put out already like 5 episodes this week. So we're as run ragged as Julius Randle at this point. So we're going to take one day off and then come back to you guys on Saturday with a game recap for the Magic game. But until then, peace out, everybody. Talk to you all soon. And thank you for listening, be it in your earphones or on YouTube. And if you haven't already, check out YouTube and even just drop us a subscribe. Even if you don't plan on watching it, it helps us out a lot and makes us feel really warm and fuzzy on the inside. So thanks for listening. Talk to you all soon. Peace out, everybody.